Hello.
Good evening.
Hi everyone.
Good
And
evening.
welcome.
Hello.
Jack, do it. Do it, Jack.
Me?
Jack, yes,
I
do
don't
it.
know. I thought Stephen did it.
This
Hello
is your
and
job.
welcome to Let's Join Out. Today is Thursday, and we are live. We have a special guest, Shasmit from SKYSTARS, who makes all wonderful, amazing hardware like ESCs, and one of the very first supporters of AM32, which is very much appreciated. And we are joined by the usual guests, everyone's favourite Scurry Kitten.
Hello.
The man with the moustache, Stephen.
Good evening.
HDO plus boy, Cole.
Howdy.
Cole, it's 2024, almost 2025, and Cole has got some new fat sharks.
Yes. Should I go grab them?
Yeah.
Some,
Can you believe it?
New, like 3 models old fat sharks that he found from someone who hadn't quite destroyed them yet.
No, these are sealed. These are sealed in the box.
Well, you can't
Brand
use
new
them.
in
They'll
box.
just be devalued then.
Shout out
You've
to
got to keep
Rotor
them on the
Riot.
shelf now.
Shout out to Fat Shark for sorting me out. I love you guys. Yeah.
Analog's very much alive in Canada.
Oh yeah. Actually, not really. No. Everyone's like, "Why are you flying analog, man? Like, get with the program." I'm like, "Nope. I got lots of VTXs and apparently goggles now, so I'm sticking with analog."
Yeah. Oh. So I've lined up a sort of ESC centric lineup as usual. This seems to be an on-running theme, but this is the last one.
So we had Alka and the AM32 team, Andrew, Alka, and Ike on a couple of weeks ago, the core developers of AM32. So following on from that, talking to yourself, obviously SKYSTARS have been in the drone business a really long time. You don't just do ESCs, right? You used to do, well, I remember Andy RC was reviewing some of your bind and flies and said they were some of the best drones that he was able to buy back then. And you've kind of moved on from that and specialized a bit more into FCs and ESCs, it seems, right?
Yep. Like for like ready RTA for BNF or PNF, for all of those things, like the profit margin were quite low. And if there is like high degree of warranty, like users used to get into a bit trouble setting up their RX or VTX, and then the entire drone had to be replaced. So because of that, like costs were increasing. So we decided like it would be much better to go with the stack or other electronic stuff so that in case there is any warranty issue, we don't have to replace the entire drone. And SkyStars is relatively new company. It is growing, but it hasn't reached that point yet where we can simply risk our business with PNF because a lot of things are going on and it's not suiting our interests. So we are limiting ourselves only to the stack.
It's harder to ship as well, right? Harder to stock, harder to ship, more space, more weight.
And also, I think USA is the only country which allows easy import of drones. Rest of the country, be it Asia or like certain countries of Europe, they require a bit documentation. So I think it is not feasible. And also, like dealers face a lot of issues. Not everyone can import a RTF drone.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know. Problems of modern business, huh? So with that said, you've done some quite innovative designs, right? I think you're the guy who's doing a lot of layout and circuit design for FCs and ESCs, if I remember correctly. I've seen a few of your ideas, some interesting stuff you put out there. Do you want to talk through some of the ideas that you've brought to market?
Yeah. So mostly my work is related to pad layout or overall layout of the ESC or FC. The electronic parts is managed by another guy who is a engineer specific in electronic engineering. So he's a Chinese guy, while I manage the pad layout. And my work is to make the FC pad layout in such a way that if you are someone who is on the field and trying to make a repair, then it should be easy for you to make any kind of repair. You don't really require any manual. All the parts have been grouped together into a single group. So that way it is easy for you to wire. Like there used to be like days when we had old flight controllers like Airbus F4 and all that. So wiring them used to be quite confusing. So my work is to simplify that and make it as easy as possible and remove some of the old parts which are not required, such as RSSI, ADC, and PPM, which are no longer in use.
So what have you done to the pad layout to make it easier then? Because I remember you had quite a lot of different designs from other companies. What did you change?
Firstly, like making sure that the camera pad is at the front position and selecting that the pad should be a go-through pad and not surface pad so it doesn't easily come out. And then we have made sure to keep the gyro separate from the 5 volt and 10 volt DC, making sure that the power lines don't go near the gyro and all that related stuff. More I can show you like when I have my flight controller, which let me bring it here. Will it be? I don't think so visible to you, but yeah.
So I think a lot of people just assume, oh, you just put the components on a board and it happens, but there's actually a ton more to that. And a lot of the problems that people walk into with flight controllers is really down to the board layout, that the pads, they can't read what's on the pads, or they can't easily get to the pads, or they're trying to use a pad to do something together with a pad that's completely the other side of the board, and it's just very awkward to wire.
Yeah, and also like we made sure that the pad size is like quite big compared to other competitors, so it's easy for you to solder. And one thing that we made sure is that the like you have frequency of ripping your pad away in other flight controllers. You're not gonna face that like under normal circumstances with your SkyStars flight controller. So we have made sure that there's no like possible sane way for you to remove your pad or rip them. So this is one of the plus point of this flight controller. We are also working on some new designs, which I think I'm not allowed to share as of right now. But what it is going to allow you is that you can, it is for a specific ESC, which we are designing a 20 by 20 mm ESC, on which you're gonna have some new tech where through which you can like solder your XT60 and motor wires in a much efficient way. And we are also like making a ESC which has a flush down capacitor, so you don't really require to solder your capacitor. You simply need to put it like this vertically and then cut its ends off, and you have to solder it. Something similar to iFlight, but in a much better way. So it's going to be released this year only, and then we're gonna have a 60 amp version for that as well. And we are still testing it, and James is the guy who is testing it. But as we are going to progress, more information will be shared with you guys.
That's cool. Yeah, I heard a lot of people, they got those iFlight ESCs thinking, oh, yeah, it's a really cool idea. You've got the capacitor already mounted, and they'd fly it 1 or 2 times, and the vibration would just knock the capacitor off. It would fall off.
Yeah, you need to manually solder it through some holes which pass through it. You can't simply go for SMD solder.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some chat actually saying recently he purchased 2 different SkyStar stacks, 50 amp and 60 amp, and yeah, they're working great.
Awesome.
I do appreciate the castellations on the ESC. By the way, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier to reach, doesn't it?
Yeah, big time. And it just looks way neater.
Oh, that's a bit small. I was just going to use this as an example of the layout where it talks about, hopefully this is an up-to-date enough one.
Give us a bit of a zoom on that, Curry.
Yeah, let's, hang on. Zooming in.
So we're looking at the typical wiring diagram.
If you open the image in a new tab and then zoom it.
Yeah, hang on, let's do that. Oh, I'm not sharing that tab. Oh no, it's come up.
Oh.
So that is the useful bit.
Oh,
I'm not doing very well.
I'm sharing you some designs. Let me show you something. Just wait.
Let's do that.
Let's get the guys from
let's get it from
SKYSTARS to show us the design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be the easy way to go.
Curry cannot be trusted.
I can't be trusted to show a picture.
Sushmit has gone muted and sideways. Something interesting is
Yeah.
happening. If you want to share stuff, there's actually a present button in the bottom of this interface, Sushmit. So you can just click present and pick a window and share it.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Let me find that photo.
No worries. Are you
we
sifting through all the stuff that you can't share with us?
Secret.
No, that's not out yet.
Well, while you're looking for that, you were Jack's put. I can't take credit for these questions, thanks to Jack, but I will push us onto them to keep the show moving. So we've obviously really shown a lot of appreciation to SKYSTARS because you guys started with AM32 and you kind of got the hobby moving in that direction, and you did it early enough that when BL Heli 32 stopped, there were alternatives already on the market, which is fantastic. But were there any signs that was going to happen? What kind of started SKYSTARS moving towards AM32, do you think?
Well, for me personally, I think it was Jai Smith who introduced us to AM32. We were developing some Express LRS receiver, and at that time, Jai Smith was the person who introduced us. He told us about the firmware and he told us about the features of it. And like he was the guy who personally used it and made us believe. And we thought like it is an open source software, there is no issue, and already Express LRS developer is using it. So maybe we should go ahead and like make some AM32 ESCs and let's see how the market response is going to be. Initially, it was a bit dry, but soon it took out, and like we are now selling AM32 hardware.
Awesome. Yeah, for those who aren't aware, Jai is one of the lead developers of ELRS. It's one of the guys that set it up, and he's a really enthusiastic race pilot as well. So he crashes pretty hard and pushes things to the limit. And he was a big fan of AM32 because he said it was making his ESCs last longer, because when they would hit an obstacle, the ESC was cutting power instead of just pushing more power and frying things.
Yep.
Yeah, so I pulled up that picture that you sent there. If you can see that.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you can see the user-friendly pad layout where you've actually, for our audio listeners, they're kind of, instead of having the pads side on, they're angled out at about 30 degrees, it looks like. So they're kind of sticking the corner of the pad out where it's easier for you to reach with the wires coming in from each motor.
It makes so much sense.
Also, you're gonna notice
interesting.
around battery pads, you have some holes, so you can place your XT60 wire between those holes, and then we have a special wire through which you can tie your XT60. And once you have done that, then you can secure your wire and then solder easily. And in the center part, lower center part, you can see there are two holes for your capacitor, which you can flush through. And the capacitor, we are still trying to figure out which capacitor to use so that the height of the capacitor is going to be lower so that it can fit inside most of the frames. So you don't require a special kind of frame. So we are still working on that, but there will be a capacitor sitting over here. And in case if you want to do it traditionally, you can simply rip that part off and then directly solder onto those battery pads.
That's cool. So your pads are safe for the audio listeners. The positive and negative battery pads, they've got a couple of small drill holes below them that don't make contact with the pad, but allow you to thread a wire through. So it's going to clamp down on your battery leads and stop them from pulling off.
It's very interesting. I was having a conversation with Jack not too long ago about soldering very thick wires, especially like XT60 battery wires, and the amount of heat needed. And if you're holding a wire, you will know a lot about that heat because suddenly you'll go, ow, and you can't hold the wire anymore. So having something to secure it so you can get some real heat in there and actually get the pad nicely flowed onto the wire is a very good idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similarly, we are also working on some new flight controllers. So you'll also gonna see some more innovation over there. but we haven't reached a point where like I can show you something, but we are working on that as well.
Nice.
So how did you get into the hobby? Were you always sort of a pilot before you got into designing for it, or how did you start?
Okay, so I have two versions. The first one is of the owner or the person who owns the SkyStar. Well, I'm somebody who's representing the SkyStars at the moment. So for the owner, I can tell that he was a young guy. He was like a Chinese person, and when he was in high school, he saw his seniors flying RC planes. At that time, there was, I guess, no electric plane or widely available, so gas engines were available at that time. So through that, he went into the RC hobby. He then started RC cars and related stuff. And over time, he transitioned into a drone industry, into agriculture drone and related stuff. And then FPV came, and then he became part of the FPV. He used to work for some other brands in the past and then later decided to make his own brand, and then SkyStars came. So the person behind the SkyStar has been part of the FPV since a very like a long time, but he has been through various brands, and now he has opened his own like SkyStars brand. And for my case, I can tell that since like when I was a young kid, my grandfather taught me how to repair electronics and related stuff. Through that, I learned a lot about electronics, and soon I started like trying RC cars, making my own RC transmitters and everything from what do you say, like some of the parts which I scavenged from old electronics and related stuff. And after that, I had a fascination towards anything which used to fly because when I was young, I did not know about Bernoulli or related principles which make things fly. And anything which used to fly, be it a RC helicopter, be it a drone, used to fascinate me a lot. And I used to think that this is the next level where I want to go. So I spent around 2 to 3 years trying to make a RC plane, but all of them failed miserably. And it was my high school when I finally made a working RC plane. And after that, I never looked back, and I've been learning more and more. And as of right now, I'm learning about Skybrush, that is the open source software for drone show. So I'm still learning. I think this is my journey, and it is going to be like this only. Just keep learning about the new stuff.
That's fantastic.
Cool.
Was that the display Skyburst software?
Skybrush.
Yeah,
Skybrush.
it's based on Arduino Pilot.
Okay.
Skybrush.io for those who are interested. And it lets you draw patterns, and then if you've got a fleet of drones, it looks like you just press go and they go and fly the pattern all coordinated. That's pretty fantastic. So you've got a laptop on the ground that basically lets you have each drone as a pixel. And
no way, that's
amazing.
so cool.
That's pretty
That's
fantastic.
neat.
Well, look, maybe if you figure this Skybrush out, it would be great to hear you talk about that as well, because that looks incredible.
Yeah, Skybrush is a bit complicated, but I'm still trying to learn it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to deal with having, 30, 40 drones at least, all in perfect working order before you can start doing anything. So, yeah, that's just a little bit complicated.
Yeah, man, like you have to know how to use a blender and everything, and then like collecting all that hardware. It's a bit challenge, like transitioning to that, but still, I want to learn that and maybe do something about that in future, maybe a business sort of regarding drone show.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That would be next
I've
level.
actually seen a few drone shows in real life, and yeah, they're pretty spectacular. Yeah, it's we're almost in 2025 now, right? It's going to be more and more popular, I think.
Yeah, yes. Day before yesterday, there was one in New York City, Disneyland Cruise World, something like that. So they had a huge drone show. And I think they are using their own software. They are not using the open source version because it was in a very huge area. That Skybrush doesn't support all that kind of hardware. So I think we have some new software in this particular field, which aren't available to public as of right now.
So do the drones have to speak to each other, or do they just talk to the ground station?
They talk to the ground station. So it's some new kind of software or tech, which is just available to some like corporates, not available to public as of right now. And that is what Disney is using currently.
Yeah, that sounds like Disney.
Just like industry close, like, you know, nobody gets to know what we're using. We're using.
Oh yeah, this is just like the early days of 3D with ILM, where people weren't just taking existing packages; they were writing the software from scratch and guarding it closely.
Yeah.
ILM, Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah,
M5.
people who did all the effects for Star Wars and then went on to do effects for pretty much everything else for about the next 10 or 15 years. They were like the only people that could do digital compositing for many years, something you take for granted and can do on your phone now. They were the only people who did it, and they wrote the software that did it.
Takes a while, but I get
Sidebar.
there. Are you going to develop a all-in-one board then? I'm guessing cheap all-in-one board with a massive LED driver on there.
For this drone show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
drone shows.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like scavenging everything you can.
SkyStars is kind of developing kind of open source related this drone chip, which you can simply like assemble together, and then you can run multiple open source software on that. So we are talking with some of the developers, including Skybrush, but things are quite fresh as of right now, so we can't say a lot about that until things solidify.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
The world needs people like this.
That's cool.
Making it happen.
It's exciting. It's cool.
Yeah.
So we kind of looked at the board layout, and another one of Jack's questions here, he was looking at ESCs, like what's next, and we've got field-oriented control. That there was a bit of noise about this recently.
Yeah.
Is SkyStars and yourself, are you interested to follow on this? Do you think it's worth doing?
As of right now, we are not planning to do FOC because there is no demand in the market. Most of the pilots aren't even aware of FOC. And I personally also have a limited knowledge of FOC because the main engineer guy who knows about the FOC speaks only Chinese. But what I can tell you from my point of view is that FOC is not coming any soon in like our hobby industry, because like there hasn't been any kind of specific advantage which we are going to get from FOC. Maybe for larger motors there might be some advantage, but for our size motor, I don't think so. There would be any advantage, and added cost won't justify it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are not going to bring that. Some brands are testing, like Diatone was testing. Now I don't think so. They are in business, and we have Airbot as well. But again, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, testing is being done. But as I can say that nobody is releasing it any soon.
Yeah, I think that the stuff that FETEC was doing was simulated field-oriented control, right? So it's like approximating FOC, but not true FOC. We'll see how that goes.
I'm not aware about FETEC, but like I did.
Oh yeah, they were the
were
guys
doing
that did it
something.
for like micro-sized drones. They put out this simulated field-oriented control, which is kind of approximating the FOC, but doing it sensorless with just looking at the zero crossing comparator data. There's like
I would just
scientific
when you
data
say
if you
most
really want to
pilots aren't aware of field orientated control, I raise my hand to that. I've never heard of the expression before this time.
It matters if you've got like a massive e-scooter and stuff like this, but yeah, that's not really for quads,
All right.
less so. So yeah, that's kind of a distraction. But if we're looking forward to future ESCs, where do you think we're going to be going? What are you excited about?
We have a new kind of MCU in market, which Airbot and like R3 Tech has developed. It's named F4A1, something like that. So it combines the MOSFET driver along with the MCU. So it's a single chip, so it is going to replace a lot of ICs on your PCB. So that is something new which is coming. And also like new R3 Tech MCUs are being supported as of right now. So that's again something new which is going to come. But rest, I think there is no new progression as of right now. So that would be just.
Yeah, I was just rooting around to see if I could find an example ESC, but people are probably used to seeing you've got like your 4 MCUs in the middle of the board, and then you'd have a collection of drivers that went out from those, and then you'd have the MOSFETs. And so this
Yeah,
is going to save space because you don't need those extra driver chips, right?
yeah, it is going to save space. Testing is being done by Pete, that is Ulka Motors. He's testing it, but like there had been some issues which I got to know, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I think it's out on one of the Airbot AIOs, which I did have around here somewhere, but I tied it up, aka lost it. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
great
Yeah.
for AIO boards because all of a sudden you've got extra space, and yeah, space is at a premium on AIOs, which is why most of them have 8-bit ESCs, which are kind of limited in 2025, 2024.
the thing is that Airbot has invested a lot of money, so that chip is going to be exclusive to Airbot only for some time. Unlike other brands who get their stuff made through Airbot, so only they are going to have that specific chip. Other manufacturers won't be having access of that any soon.
Man, that sucks. Yeah, I wondered.
Yeah, but it won't make any like huge difference in anything except AIOs. So maybe that's the only downfall.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to respect Airbot. They taped out a whole line of custom MCUs. They like went to Artery Tech and literally got a custom MCU built. That's a lot of
Mm,
effort. That's probably like
yeah,
a million or so in costs to get through the testing and manufacturing phases. So yeah, I think it's
yeah,
fair that they make a little bit of return on it, give them a
yeah. A
couple of
lot of
years head
money.
start.
Yeah, a lot of money has been put into that. But yeah, Artery is also like something reverse engineered STM only.
Yeah. So has Artery Tech been easy to deal with? Because everyone kind of swapped over to this and it was like a silent change, but it's a pretty big change, isn't it?
Yeah, see, we had options like CKS, we had GD, that is
Giga
Giga,
devices.
and then we had Artery. So with CKS, it was a direct replacement, but we there were like what do you say, a lot of issues like quality control issues with that. So ESCs used to randomly die or ICs used to fry. So we did try GD, but like again, the supply chain was not quite efficient. And then we shifted to Artritech F421 MCU, so it was available easily. It was manufactured within China, and like everything about it was most efficient compared to all other alternatives. So we went ahead with Artritech. So it is stable, and the like company responses to the engineer, they are available on call, chat, and everywhere. So it's easy for everyone to deal with Artritech.
That's cool. Yeah. If you were buying ESCs during lockdown, you kind of noticed everyone went and changed all their designs really quickly. And it was kind of a quiet change, but people were complaining, oh, my ESC doesn't work. Oh, it's got these problems. And that was because people had suddenly couldn't source these STM32 chips. And all of a sudden they're like, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And a lot of them just didn't work as they were advertised, right?
Yeah.
So
Also,
we're back
like
to stability now. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, also like there's some new ESCs which are being developed, which have a single MCU, and then you have all the MOSFET drivers connected to it, and then you have your FETs. So this is something new which is also happening. I think Maytech already did that around I think 2 to 3 years ago, but it was not quite successful. They made their own protocol for that. I don't remember the name, but it was a different protocol. It was
Serial
not
ESC.
supported. Yeah. So again, we are visiting that concept, but let's see how it works. We might be using some new MCUs available in the market. Uh, but more info about this would be with the engineer guy. He's
Sure.
not
Yeah,
with
I
us
think
right
we
now.
went down a rat hole. Perhaps I don't want to lose the audience completely. So the one thing we noticed about SkyStars is while you're not like a massive company with huge budgets, you seem really responsive and you're trying out new ideas and you're getting feedback and improving things. So how do you do this as a company? How do you get this input from customers? How do you change so quickly?
Okay, so the thing is, the most other FPV brands is that they are mostly consisting of employees who are Chinese in nature or Chinese nationality. So they don't have a lot of access to outside world. They do have some representatives like you must have seen on Facebook, but they most of them have no idea like what's going on. They simply know that it's a drone, it's a motor, it's a EAC, it's a stack, that's all. So when they have with SkyStars, the unique thing is that they are connected to some pilots who are outside China and who are quite passionate about it. So Jimmy or James is one of them. So he keeps us in touch with all the new developments. And I also personally keep looking for new stuff and what people are talking about. So when we hear all of that, I transmit it back to the SkyStars owner or the engineer, so they work upon that, and this way we are going try to keep up with the competition and keep up with all the new trends which are coming.
Looks good. Like for a small company, you're very fast at changing, and yeah, something we'd expect from large companies with huge budgets. So it's kind of impressive.
And also this is something which I want to tell you guys about is recently you guys are aware about the Russia-Ukraine war and everything. So I think almost all companies have supplied their stuff through indirect means or direct means, and most of them are also aware this has happened with this stuff. But for SkyStars, I can tell you that not a single ESC or flight controller or stack has been supplied from SkyStar for any kind of war related stuff. So we have kept the brand away from all of that stuff. So that's again something we at SkyStars are proud of it.
Yeah, I think in a couple of years that's going to count. Everything is going to leak out eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, most of the brands are making quite a lot of money from all of that, maybe through indirect sales and related stuff. But
Gray
we at
markets.
SkyStars, yeah, SkyStars have kept our hands away from that
Well
and
done.
been in a very wide zone.
That's very
There's
brave
certainly
because
some,
Yeah.
that's a lot of
some
money
very
to
big
turn
motors
down. So
available.
congratulations.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's
How-
like it's weird to see like the crossover from the passion of the hobby, and then it's the stuff we're using for fun is being used for not such fun things. So it's better to keep it in the fun aspect.
Yeah.
But people make money, right? So it's it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Is that how you're? I suppose because SkyStars is a Chinese company. That's how you're getting around. You don't have to worry about the embargo for the IMUs.
I didn't quite get the question.
Sorry. He was just saying SkyStars isn't involved in any of the war efforts, and they're keeping themselves completely clean, unlike a lot of
Yeah,
people who've been tempted by increased profits.
because eventually there is going to be something happening, be it from Chinese government or be it from other agencies. Something might happen, or I'm sure it is going to happen.
Yeah.
So better be safe and not support the war. These
Yeah.
equipments are meant for something, and that is not war.
We already saw it. Like DJI is continually in the press,
Yeah.
continually being hounded by US Department to trying to block them and sanction them because they claim that they're related to all sorts of issues. And yeah, it's definitely one thing to avoid, I think, if you want a successful company. There's plenty of hobbyists out there who'll pay good money and increase your reputation.
It is interesting because there was some sort of restriction on export from the Chinese government, because obviously they're friendly with Russia and didn't want drone parts going to Ukraine. So for a while, it was like companies saying they couldn't send me stuff, and then I have a 10-inch drone turning up quite happily. So I don't know quite what the workarounds are, but suddenly very big drones with very big motors are being built everywhere, and they're getting shipped out of China very easily.
Yeah, there has been some orders from Chinese government, some verbal orders, which has been circulated here and there. So basically, most of the companies are now afraid to sell a drone like 7-inch or 10-inch. And so anything which is having a higher payload or a propeller which is more than 7-inch, so companies are a bit hesitant towards selling that. And that has happened because of some of the orders which have been released. So yeah, I think that's a legal issue over there. So China is trying to control the misuse of the drone, but it is not quite there through, like, you can get it through Alibaba and AliExpress. But yeah, companies are striving towards that. There are a lot of brands like Foxier, Rush FPV, and SkyStars itself who is adhering to those guidelines and not selling like large size drones.
And let's face it, if we go back 5 years ago, no one was selling a 10-inch drone. You'd have to go and get it made, custom built, in order to get a 10-inch drone. And now all of a sudden, oh yeah, 10-inch drones are great because GoPros are 20 grams heavier. Like,
well, maybe like cine lifters and whatnot, but yeah, like use case for like film industry, not anything.
All you have to do is go back 12 years, and all drones were at least 10 inches and made of wood.
You built them yourself.
Yeah. So you were talking there about one of the problems with like selling an RTF is like a warranty issue and having to deal with users. Is there a sort of a common thing that users have a problem with either ESC boards or stacks? And what is sort of your sort of go-to advice or your common issue you get reported to you that you need to explain? What's the top tip?
Okay, so most of the time it's related to capacitor. People usually don't install the capacitor, and if they do install the capacitor, they install it in reverse polarity. And then it's regarding soldering. They use some plumbing solder. If you guys are aware of that, it melts at a very low temperature, and when the ESC heats up or it is having a high resistance, so it melts during the flight, and then like your drone
This is
crashes.
solder that's mainly tin, right? Almost entirely tin.
Yeah, the plumbing solder. So they use a lot of that. And regarding other issues which I think they face is that they bridge a lot of parts which are placed together. So while designing the pad layout, we try to give around 2 mm, minimum 2 mm of gap between each pad. So the chances of you to bridge those pads is going to reduce. But yeah, still people do that. Most of the time it's a capacitor only which is like causing a lot of issues, be it desyncs or be it a noise and related stuff.
I thought
And
capacitors tended to explode if you put them on the wrong way round. Does it just go?
Yeah, like usually they don't install it in a proper way. They install it at the female part, or the, what do you say, it is a male or female?
Negative, positive?
Not negative, positive. I think at the end of the battery cable, they don't install it onto the battery pads of the SC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that makes a huge difference. Like we had few ESCs batch in which we were using the Giga MCU, and it was prone to a lot of noise. So if pilots don't used to install the capacitor, their ESCs used to go into desyncs. And also like you need to make sure that the capacitor was installed onto the ESC parts and not onto the XT60 cable. So there are some MCUs which are like quite sensitive, and we need to make sure that you need to install the capacitor properly. And one more issue which I think a lot of pilots do is that they don't give a lot of clearance between the FC and ESC, and due to that, when they take a power loop or something shorts out, and then like their stack stops working, and then we have a warranty claim for that.
Yeah.
See,
There's a lot of tips
Separation
there.
is key.
You might want to rewind that and listen to it again, because I think we just had some top building tips there.
I like to think people would recognize if they'd bridge two pads together. It's one of the things I always do after a soldering thing is I look closely, and if something looks dodgy, then I'm out with the multimeter to see if there's continuity and stuff. But yeah,
This is your
take
best
more
friend.
notice.
This is better than a smoke stopper.
Yeah, that's the one thing I see everyone talking about smoke stoppers and doing the whole plug-in with low whatever. It's like just use the damn multimeter. That's like that's a. I mean, I don't know. I've never owned a smoke stopper, but I definitely own a multimeter, and it works. And
this belongs here. These belong here, and this belongs in the bin.
Yeah, there's a lot that a smoke stopper won't catch. I mean, it's better than nothing, but at the same time, visual inspection. And if you're new to soldering, then get out the multimeter and absolutely test.
I would say like if people
so good, I bought two.
Yeah, if people could solder their stuff properly in the way it is supposed to be done, like then most of the issues are solved. Because most of the time, people strip off a lot of silicone off the wire and then solder it, and during flight they connect with each other, and then you have a short circuit.
Yeah.
Because
they don't cut any of the cables to
right?
length, so they've got like 30 centimeters of cable, and it's all just like shoved in there. Then you get noise and everything; it causes problems.
Just strip the wire,
the length of the pad, size of the pad. Yep.
And that is one of the teaching Cole. he just now parrots correct information.
Yep.
And it makes me proud.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Jack, I'm sure my soldering would look like doggy doo doo.
Are you trying to use a smaller Rubicon on that other design? Because they're really tall. The ones that you guys know.
But you want the high ESR ones, right? You don't want just
correct.
any old.
We want the low ASR one. Like Rubicon has a lot of series, ZLH and FM series, FR series. So we go with. There is also this XYZ something series. So we go with the ZLH series because it has been most reliable for us and has the lowest ESR value. And if you are somebody who wants to upgrade or do it for your own personal build, then I would recommend going with the Panasonic FM series capacitor. The thing is, we as a manufacturer can't supply Panasonic capacitor because they are not available at an affordable price or at a competitive price. So we go with the second best option, that is the Rubicon ZLH capacitor. So if you are somebody who want to upgrade, then Panasonic FM is the capacitor you must try on.
If you're buying them on eBay and you're buying like 5 or 10, there's not really much price difference. But I guess if you're getting 1,000, it really adds up.
Yeah, just make sure that they are the original ones.
Are those like the silver and purple ones?
Panasonic ones?
Black.
They're black, yeah.
They are black.
They have a silver stripe on the negative side.
Yeah, I think there is also a golden stripe as well on that.
But like, so I was wrong before. You want the low ESR ones, not just regular capacitors. You got to get low ESR, otherwise they won't catch the noise.
Could we have a part number, please?
Oh, it's going to depend whether you're 4S or 6S. So
35. You can always go up in voltage.
Just get something the size of a Coke can and just tie it in there.
Bolt it on. Am I right? Contradiction, like people are probably going to correct me in the chat, but like, why would anyone solder the capacitor to where the
Plug your
XT60
battery
connects to, because
Yeah.
surely the battery acts as a capacitor, and you want the capacitor as close to the noise
They
of the
don't.
ESC
They
as
don't
possible.
know that. They're just putting it on wherever they can fit it, and they think, "Oh, there's no space in my frame. I'll just put it here and make it easy
Yeah,
for myself."
like
Yeah.
most of the time it's because of the space. More like new racing frames are there which don't have any kind of space left for them to install any capacitors. So again, we are trying to solve this issue by having a smaller sized capacitor which flush down vertically with the PCB. But yeah, we are still going on that.
It's tricky. And then that capacitor lifts off if you don't solder it properly, and you're like, "Oh, why's my tune gone bad?" But it's not gone bad. It's just your capacitor's loose inside and is disconnecting
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot
Flapping
of
about in
times,
the
like
breeze.
the leg of the capacitor pulls out internally and we can't see that directly until we like do some kind of action with that. We kind of pull it apart and then we notice that the leg of the capacitor has become loose, so that might also cause a lot of issues, and we have diagnosed this in a lot of support stuff when we
Wow,
were troubleshooting some drones. So again, that's
that's a difficult
something
one.
which you must look for.
Yeah, if you crash, check everything.
Yeah.
So we've looked at a lot of options here. You can, make ESCs better. You can put the pads at an angle. You can put capacitors in there. But your ESC is just going to get bigger and bigger if you put all these nice features on it. So how do you strike a balance between putting all the features and making it easy to use and fitting the ESC in a sensible form factor with a small board thickness and a small weight?
Other than removing old stuff that we don't use, what else do you do? Because you already said that.
Okay. So
Thanks.
first thing we try to do is that we make sure, like if we are making a ESC for racers, we try to make sure that we use the full size MOSFETs. So if we are using a full size MOSFET, then the size of the ESC is going to increase. Like we have the AM55 ESC that is 20 by 20, the red one. So that is using a full size MOSFET, which are same as 30 by 30. So that's for somebody who's like into racing and doesn't want like to compromise anywhere. So that person can use that. But if there's somebody who like wants to have that shape or in that specific way, like for Cinewoop or something other than that racing, then they can go with the smaller sized MOSFETs, which are available on other kinds of ESCs. So when we are designing something, we kind of pick up the niche on which we need to target. For racers, we have specific ESC. For others, we have specific ESC. We don't really care for the weight because if we are going to use more copper, the weight is surely going to increase. But we do a normal test where we take some of the like best-selling frames in the market, racing frames. Like we have Fly 533 from Heads Up FPV. So we take that frame because it's being used a lot, and then we try to fit our components into that. We also try the fly fish frame as well to see if everything fits into that. And once all of that is like done, then we can go ahead and release the stuff. So this is our way of testing everything. But yeah, it depends a lot on which kind of target we are like, which kind of target audience we are focusing.
How do you know like how much copper is too much? Are you just doing like crazy tests where you try and empty a battery in 30 seconds? How do you figure this out?
The person like the engineer who works on that for the testing, he actually installs a BLDC fan, which is not a conventional motor, and it is having quite a big propeller, something again which is not FPV RC related. And through
Just
that,
like a
he
desk
tests
fan,
all
you
of the
mean?
yeah, he pushes them to a lot of like higher amps rating, and then we discount it by like 10-20%, and then we give that like the rating. Like with SkyStars, I can surely say that the rating which we supply for the ESC is quite true. Unlike some other brands who like overrate their specs, and also like with SkyStars, our stuff is tested by the developers, be it Betterflight developers or Express LRS. express alloys testing has reduced in recent years, but better flight developers do use a ASC and also a PEAT and unit. I think you guys are aware about unit as well.
Ike, yes, he was on last
Yep.
week.
Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah, so he's also one of the testers who test our stuff before it gets released into the market. So yeah, a lot of developers use it, so we are sure that it's going to work. And regarding the copper, well, we just try to put in as much as we can while maintaining affordable rates. So we have the option to like use a better quality copper, like the top of the line. But again, it is going to increase the cost. Some people have tried that, but again, we try to maintain it at like ratio between like the price and the performance. So that's something which engineer manages, but this is how we do it.
That's cool. Yeah, check out the Betaflight partner page if you want to actually know who's bothering to talk to the developers to sanity check whether things are going to work before they sell them. And you see SKYSTARS there. We've got Airbot. We've got Team Black Sheep. You've got Radio Master, and the kind of names you'd expect there as well. So it's good to know.
And same goes for AM32 as well. We are also supporting the AM32 financially through our contributions.
On behalf of the community, thanks. That's cool.
Thank you. Very much appreciated.
So, do you want to? We've got a. I keep stealing Jack's questions. I feel bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I thought this is a cool one to move on to, which is how do you balance meeting the needs of hobbyists and professionals while staying innovative? Like you could carry on just selling one model and market it and tell everyone it's best, like Coca-Cola. It's new, it's the same, but it's also new. But buy ours. But you know, you're taking chances, and the portfolio on skystars.com is pretty wide. You've got a lot of products. So how do you know when to make new products?
Okay, so we have two kinds of series. We have the KO series and then we have the KM series. Now, KM series is a quite professional series, I would say, and KO series is more oriented towards the budget kind of stuff. So KO stuff is for people who are getting into the hobby who don't want to spend a lot of money. So you have a lot of inexpensive stacks over there. And then you have the KM series. Now, KM series includes our flagship ESC, that is the red one, AM32 ESC. So those are the ESCs which are meant for the professionals. So they have the KM tag on that. And then we have the ESCs which are meant for normal hobbyists who don't want to spend a lot. So for them, the KO series is there. The main difference is of the amount of copper which has been used, the quality of the PCB, and then the MOSFETs which we are using. So those are mainly the differences which are there. But again, not a huge difference. Things work out quite great.
I just found a very, very high-end stack you have on your website there.
I think it's a discontinued stack.
Yeah. I just noticed that, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. But it is the KO series, so it's the high end.
I think that might be from a few years ago. But this is also a good thing because you can actually find docs for products that are a few years old. And one of the things, I've got some drones here that aren't nearly as old as other hosts on the show, but I'm already finding that I can't find docs for them. So it's good to actually be able to find pictures and board layouts where you're like, what is this one pad that's not labeled on my board? And I want a diagram.
But you know what? I have a buddy here in Canada who he swears by SKYSTARS ESCs and stacks in general. He's been using them pretty much nonstop for the past, I think, couple years at least. And he's like, I just keep getting them. They're working good. So why switch?
I've got one of those red AM32 KM55 boards. It's behaved well. It was my AM32 test candidate. It went through all the beta code releases, went through all the experiments with, can we get RPM telemetry like this? Oh, we're dropping RPM telemetry. Let's try that. And yeah, it survived so far. So that's good. It's hit a couple of trees.
We did have 2 torture tests done by 2 individual pilots. I think 3. Chris Rosser did test the ESC, the red one. It was a normal test. Then we have the Joshua Bardwell running 6S on 4S motor using a 20 by 20 AM32 ESC. And then we have James. James did a test where he was running 7-inch 4S motors on 6S on a 20 by 20 stack, and then he flew that over the ocean and recorded everything. I think the video is available on my channel. So yeah, we did a lot of testing with that, and it can take a lot of beating. So the main thing is that if we use a full size MOSFET, the ESC works more than what we like advertise it for, and that has been
Plenty of
depicted in the
headroom.
Jimmy's video.
That's awesome.
Almost like
Yeah,
you like
I remember
underspec it on paper. That way, you're good. You don't set too high of an expectation, but it is actually rated for more technically.
it's like with audio, Cole. Like you've got that bit of extra headroom. You're not running the meters in the red. You know, it's going to be good.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
tell them it's
and
less, but really
personally-
it's more. They'll be safe.
Personally, I feel that anything above 45 amps is overkill for a 5-inch drone or below that. So 45 amps is like if a hardware can do like 60 amp on under ideal conditions, then we can rate it for 45 or 50 amp.
Yeah.
So that's
How many times are you pulling more than 100 amp from your battery? And you've got to be driving at least like 2 motors hard. Like, come on. This is a lot of power.
Yeah, unless you're somebody who's quad mover, you don't really need that amount of stuff.
Well, unless you're like MCK, yeah. You're like throwing
I
the
don't think
batteries away
batteries
after
last
one
that
charge.
long, do they? If you push it that hard.
No. Well, after they catch fire, they tend to be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still on 25 amp ESCs, but I'm running 4S. So
I actually saw the Bardwell video that you mentioned. I thought he was kind of unfair because he'd taken the 6S ESC and then he'd put 4S motors on it, and he was just like, right, punch out. And then he's like punching back and forwards, back and forth. Oh, it's still flying. Oh, I don't know. Seems okay, but I don't know. Not really that impressed. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, you've just tried to kill it. What more do you want?
yeah, you just like flick the
And
throttle and just leave
also-
it there and start like let's just fly around.
Just
he
to
was,
add,
he
the
was strange.
PID values were not also correct in that. So PID
So-
had to be tuned in that, but he was using the 4S PIDs, I guess. So the flight was not quite efficient.
Right. So it was just like overcorrecting all the time and lots of vibration because it was overtuned, and yeah. Bardwell has his moments, but sometimes you just wonder what he was doing on that video. That was one of them. I'm like, you tried to kill this thing and it's fine and it survived, and you're just still not impressed. So what do you want?
You make it sound like your engineer overruns everything to the point that the solder starts reflowing on the ESC until and at that point he's satisfied.
Well, that's why they have the 2 millimeter spacing between pads.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If
This
it's
has
going
got
to
to be a
reflow,
good thing. There's too many companies that like put things together and they hover it and say that works. You need stress testing, system verification testing is what we used to call it. It puts things under pressure, puts it through the hard edge cases that you wouldn't normally expect, and if it all still works, then it's good.
and that was the old eSheen thing that Andy found, right? Where he was like, "Oh, this is an amazing value quad. It looks great. It's an interesting frame, cool paint job. All the components are spec'd up." And then he would go up and like try and do a flip or a roll, and it would just desync and fall to the ground because they hadn't actually flown the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good for testing. It's good to test. And by the way, I was going to say, if you're trying to solder very hot things, that's my tip. Like cross-locking tweezers, so you have to press them to open them, and then you can just put the wire and drop the tweezers down, and yeah, it's useful.
Also, like there's a new kind of solder which has been available in China only. So it is quite, what do you say, a smooth kind of solder. It's a lead-free solder which they have released. I guess you guys should try that one because it's really easy to use with, and it is also lead-free, so it's good for you and nature as well.
Oh, so this
Interesting.
is it a lower melting point then? Because the traditional lead-free is very high melting point.
I think it has lower melting point compared to other lead-free solders available in the market. But it is not as low as the lead solder. But again, since you're working a lot on your drone, so you must opt for lead-free solder. And now there are better alternatives.
Yeah,
Jack's
I
like,
always keep the
he's like
fan
shaking in his chair right now. Lead free.
Oh,
I thought it was the flux that got you. The flux
the
that
work
messes
of the
with your nose.
devil.
Jack
I
needs to
mean,
breathe
like,
lead to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are touching lead everywhere, and then like you are doing it on your work desk.
Don't
And
lick your
if
fingers.
you're if you're not cleaning your hands, then it's an issue. Like not for us, but for kids and for animals and everyone. So
Yeah.
we are adults, we are not gonna get that much affected. But for kids, it gonna matter a lot.
Yeah, it's good to be mindful. That's true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very smart.
I
Good
don't
tips. Thank
want
you.
kids. I don't like kids. I have.
He's got lots of leaded solder everywhere.
Oh, I accidentally went in my mouth. Whoops. It's been nice knowing you guys. Be nice knowing you.
And on that note, it's time to end the show.
Yeah.
Taxi to
That was a
hospital for
dumb
Jack.
thing to do. Don't hang on. Safety notice. Do not be on fire.
Sure.
Be careful around
Do
busy
not
roads. Don't,
Fuck lead.
do not
Do
accidentally
not
lick
chew your
the solder.
solder.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that is all we got time for. And we have very much appreciated having you on. It's been very
Schmidt,
informative.
thank you. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Supporting the hobby, doing great things. We appreciate you and thoroughly enjoy your products. If you want to give a shout out to your YouTube, send the link to Cole. You can add it into the description.
Put it in the show notes.
Or
Yeah.
and
Okay,
anything
sure.
else you want to say. If you have any updates for us or new products, please feel free to send us over an email and we can give them a mention on the show. You're always welcome back on. If you got any big releases or something new happens that you want to share, you're very much welcome. You've been lovely.
Sure.
The show's been sponsored and supported by our lovely Patreons. Thank you to everyone who appeared and showed up in the chat. Numbskull, you were first. Well done. Thank you. Caroline, always lovely to see you. Every, it's good to see you. Hex, thank you. Tailspin and Swanee. Cheers, guys. Oh, Superfly's here
What's going on, dude?
as well.
Hey.
Excellent tunes. Thank you.
Excellent.
You've been joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kitten,
Goodbye.
the stealer of my lovely question, Stephen. I'm joking.
Such lovely questions. Thank you.
I know.
Thanks for your time,
Thank you.
Schmidt. That was cool.
My buddy Carl
See ya.
and our guest Schmidt from SKYSTARS.
Thank you, everyone.
Woo.
And I've been Brent LaFly. Thank you. Good night.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.